Hi fellas, second attempt at this video. First attempt was interrupted by the cat doing something to peeve me off royally. Something that she knows better than to do. But I'll save that for another time. Well, I'll just say that the cat is damn lucky I like her, because if I didn't, she'd be Chinese food right now. Speaking of which, the only thing I have left to eat in the house is like ramen noodles, some ice cream, and I could make grilled cheese if I really wanted to, but I don't. So yeah, after I get this video posted up, I'm going to go out and just get something to eat. So, I'm taking a break from larger sets, and, well, sets that I have more of, and doing Kamigawa block today. Yay, Kamigawa. Before I get too far into it, Kamigawa was not a set that I picked up a lot of. I was working on weekends when it started coming out, and then I joined the military, and by the time I had any real chance to pick up physical cards again that were current, it was the late fall, early winter of '06, and Kamigawa at that point was rather gone. It was largely considered an underpowered block. This perception wasn't helped any by the fact that it came after with the redonkulous brokenness of the original Mirrodin block. Probably the only really powerful card in Kamigawa was Umezawa's Jitte, or Jitte, or however the hell it's pronounced, and that card was a royal beatstick, and it probably really just did seem all the much worse because it was printed in a underpowered block. So, that out of the way, let's try and talk about this set and what I've got in there. Got the Kiri-Ona. It's a 2/2 creature for 5 mana. Normally that's not considered a good thing. It's signed by the artist. I got it at the pre-release. I think I told that story before. When it comes into play, you bounce a creature to its owner's hand. Whenever you play a Spirit or Arcane spell, you bounce the Kiri-Ona. Spirit basically just refers to creatures with Spirit type. Arcane was something they introduced in Kamigawa block. It's a subtype for sorceries and instants. Pretty much what happens is some Arcane spells have the splice onto Arcane ability. What that meant is when you played an Arcane spell, if you had another Arcane spell in your hand with the splice onto Arcane ability, you could pay that card's splice cost, reveal that card, and tack its effects onto the card you just played. So for example, in this case, Petals of Insight for 4 colors and a blue. Look at your top 3 cards, put them on the bottom of your library, and you may put them on the bottom of your library in any order. If you do, return Petals of Insight to its owner's hand. Otherwise, draw 3 cards. That's 4 mana. 5 mana, I'm sorry. And it's a sorcery. Then you have Consuming Vortex right here for Colorless and a blue. It's an instant Arcane, and return target creature to owner's hand. Splice onto Arcane for 3 colorless and a blue. So if you had a whole royal crap ton of mana to spare, because this particular combo is expensive, you could pay 4 colorless and a blue to cast Petals of Insight. As you are casting it, you could pay an additional 3 colorless and a blue and reveal Consuming Vortex from your hand. And as part of the Petals of Insight's resolution, you'd bounce a creature. It's an interesting concept. I like the concept. I don't think they did enough with it. But it is what it is. If I knew what to tell you about that one, I would. You know, I don't think it was a mechanic that ever got horrifyingly exploited. But oh well. They also had some tribal themes going. Tribal was an interesting sub-theme going on that, once again, a lot of people tend to avoid. The Moonfolk had, pretty much all of them had an ability to pay some mana and return land or lands to your hand to produce an effect. This one right here is the Cloud Skater. It's a 1/1 flyer for a colorless and a blue. You pay 2 colorless and return a land you control to its owner's hand to draw a card and then discard a card. It's not bad. That guarantees you have something to discard. I mean, you have extra land late in the game. It's a way to cycle them. But, I mean, some of them were interesting effects. What else did you have? You had the spirits. Many spirits, not all, but many, had the soul shift mechanic on it. It was soul shift, then a number. When the creature is put into a graveyard from play, you return a spirit card in your graveyard with converted mana cost of whatever or less from your graveyard to your hand, or whatever is the soul shift rating. You know, in this case, this guy's soul shift 5. One thing that they did print at some point was a creature that had double soul shift. It had soul shift twice, which basically means that when it died, it would return up to 2 cards to your hand. Interesting. Well, up to 2 spirit creatures, but that's interesting stuff. What else did we have going on? We had the sweep mechanic, which is when you play this spell, you return any number of specified lands to your hand. In the case of Barrel Down Shokenzen, it's mountains, and it produces an effect with a variable based on the number of cards you swept back into your hand. Yay. You had the Bushido mechanic, which is Bushido X, usually a number 1, 2, rarely higher. Whenever a creature with Bushido attacks or blocks or becomes blocked, it gets +X till end of turn, where X is the Bushido number. Kid science, fun stuff. Some people compared it to flanking. I don't think that's a terrifically fair comparison. Flanking only worked on the offense or on the defense to counter your enemy's flanking. And of course, Bushido in and of itself could not kill a creature. Flanking can. In theory, if you have like a 1/1 indestructible creature and it blocks something with flanking, that 1/1 indestructible creature dies. Yeah. There's something interesting for you guys. What else did we have going on? We had the Honden cycle, a series of legendary enchantments, which even had the subtype of Shrine. That's new, an enchantment with a subtype. Well, other than Aura. At the time it was new. I'm not sure if Aura was a subtype at the time or not. I don't think it was. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because there's a serpent skin right there. Anyways, yeah, the Hondens all had effects based upon the number of Hondens you had in play. And since each one was legendary, in general, you wouldn't have more than one of each color. In general. There was a way around it printed. And while I'm thinking about it, now since the Hondens were legendary enchantments, now one of the things that they did in Kamigawa block is they changed the way legends work. Because they came to the realization that the way legends previously worked wasn't very good. As an example, one observer noted in a tournament game that the guy who won the game got his Akroma Angel of Wrath on board early and just started swinging with it, and his opponent was sitting on the other side of the board, a little bit land deficient at first, got enough land to cast his own Akromas, had 3 Akromas in his hand, couldn't do anything. Because the old legend rule basically stated that whenever a legendary permanent came into play, if there was already a legendary permanent of the same name already in play, you'd get rid of all but the oldest. So yeah, they changed it, so now they all go bye-bye, which basically turns a legendary creature into a way to nuke a legendary creature of the same name. So yeah, that's kind of spiffy. I mean, I think it was a good change overall. Kamigawa block did introduce a whole crap ton of legends, that and There was a lovely little aberration. Legendary was a super type. That is, it preceded the standard types, like artifact, creature, artifact, land, blah 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 blah. It was a super type for most cards, except for creatures, in which legend was a subtype, which was really bizarre. But they fixed that. They took legend out of the subtype for creatures and made it a super type. So now you had a cat that really wants to die. Meh. I'll deal with you later. Anyways, where was I? Don't you freaking mother-eating pile of cat. You are lucky as all hell I like you. Yeah, I'm not happy with her right now. Yeah. Lately it's been a fight trying to get her to use her litter box. I don't think she likes the type of litter I've got in it right now. And so she's... Now it's been a fight. And she just peed on the floor in the bathroom, which makes me very unhappy. Most unhappy. Anyway, enough about the cat. I'll butcher you later, cat. I should go for some Chinese food, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, I'm not going to get Chinese food tonight. Anyways, cat, you are lucky as hell. Anyway, so as I'm straightening this out, I'm going to continue to babble on about the set a little bit. Because it's better than cursing the cat. Slightly more productive. But not as much fun. Anyways, what was that? Oh yeah, legendary stuff. So they changed the legend rule, and they had a whole crap ton of legends in this set. They even had a artifact, some kind of mirror or another that removed the legend rule. They also had like another card called Brothers Yamazaki, which had two illustrations, mind you, which was appropriate, that said that the legend rule does not apply to them if there's two or less in play. So that's kind of fun. Alright, going back here. Sakura Tribe Elder, also referred to as Steve, because the first three, well, you abbreviated him to STE, so people just start calling him Steve. Back under pre-M10 rules, he was really, really awesome. He's not as awesome today because the M10 rules, taking combat damage off the stack, kind of neutered cards like Steve and Mog Fanatic, aka Mr. Fantastic. Story for another day, I think. But yeah, at the time he was pretty cool. Kagamaro's Clutch, 3 colors and a black, enchant creature. Enchant creature gets neg X, where X is the number of cards in your hand. That was part of the wisdom mechanic that they tried to bring in, the idea that having a bunch of cards in hand rather than casting them would give you some kind of a bonus. It would help with creature removal. It would get you life gain. It would make it harder for your opponent to attack you, etc., etc. And I don't think it ever really caught on because people were hesitant. People didn't like the idea of just sitting there and not playing their cards. And so, in general, as much as they tried to make it worth your time, it really wasn't. I think the Hellbent mechanic was equally problematic, though probably more used, simply on account of the fact that Hellbent rewards you for playing all your cards. What a lot of players didn't like about that, of course, was when you have no cards in hand, your opponent knows you've got no surprises for them. And surprises are good things to have. But, yeah, Hellbent's from Ravnica, I've already talked about it, blah, 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 blah. We also had the flip cards. Cards that once a certain condition was met, you turn them over and you've got a similar or related card. Sometimes a card would flip over into another creature, sometimes it would flip over and become an enchantment. Crazy things would happen. What does this guy do? When you play Spirit or Arcane spell, put a key counter on him at end of turn. If there are more than key counters, flip him. And he's a 2/2 for a colorless and double white. You flip him, and he becomes a 3/4 flyer. And you can remove key counters from him to prevent all damage that will be dealt to target creature. It's kind of interesting. That goes there. We had a demon-ogre relationship going on. We had a lot of demons in this block. In general, you don't see more than maybe 2 demons printed in a set or block. This one had a bunch. Unfortunately, I don't have many. Basically, you'd have demons that had a drawback, and ogres that would gain abilities or have drawbacks based upon the presence of the other tribe. Our buddy Painracker Oni here is a 5/4 with fear for 3 and double black. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature if you don't control an ogre. Then we have Bloodthirsty Ogre, who's a 3/1 for 2 and a black. You tap him to put devotion counters on him, and you can tap him to give target creature -X until end of turn, where X is the number of devotion counters on him. Play this ability only if you control a demon. The demon is dead by my hand. Anyway. Now going further, there was also the I already mentioned that, the ninjutsu mechanic, and I don't have any cards with ninjutsu. I don't have any. I don't own any, at least not physically. Got some Magic Online. Yay. Anyways, the ninjutsu mechanic was an interesting thing. It was found primarily on some blue and black creatures. I don't think it made it onto any other colors. Basically, it was a mechanic that allowed you to bounce a creature with ninjutsu. Allowed you to pay the ninjutsu cost and return an unblocked attacking creature that you controlled to your hand, and replace it with the creature with ninjutsu, tapped and attacking. Obviously, you could only play this after blockers were declared. But yeah, it's interesting stuff. I like it. It was interesting. It was tricky. It was crafty. It's the kind of thing that a lot of Magic players like. Sort of like one of the things I like to tell younger players. It's like, you know what? If you have plenty of land in play, and you draw another land, don't play it. Stockpile it in your hand. Sandbag it. Your opponent will sit there wondering what you've got in hand, wondering why you haven't played it yet. You know? But, yeah. So that's Kamigawa block. It was really flavorful block, had a lot going on in it, but just wasn't powerful. These things happen, I guess. I think Wizards the design team probably actually did learn a fair amount from it, but I'm forced to wonder how well they've implemented any of those lessons, you know? Especially seeing how we haven't seen any of the mechanics from Kamigawa make a real comeback. We haven't seen Sweep make a comeback. We haven't seen Bushido make a comeback. We haven't seen Ninjutsu make a comeback. Mind you, of course, those are mechanics that, simply because of their name, they're very block specific. I mean, you really can't reprint those mechanics without harkening back to Kamigawa. Not with those names. I mean, and it's rare for a mechanic to have its name changed. The only one I can think of is, was it Fading got changed to Vanishing? I believe it was. Or was it vice versa? I can't remember. But yeah, that's a mechanic that got a little bit of an overhaul. But, yeah. Alright. Have a good night, fellas. Be good.